All right, guys, we are live. So, welcome to a Tutor Hot Seat episode. I haven't done one of these in a long time, but you guys know I'm Jessica. I have an online tutoring business. And one thing I like to do also is to coach other tutors with video and online organization, all that good stuff. So, today I'm putting these friends of mine in the hot seat. We're going to ask some questions that some of us have had to deal with, like things that sometimes there's not a right answer. When you own an online business, there's just not always a rule book out there because the job that we're doing is still modern. Like there's no hard and fast rule of this is exactly what online tutors need to do. Like nobody was working online several years ago. And now we've got this whole new world to navigate. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to set a timer. We're only going to be live for 20 minutes. I've got questions. They don't really know what these questions are. I am going to, here's what I'll do, guys. I'm going to present the wheel. Once I pull it up here, here it is. And let me actually hide these questions. Okay, so here's how we're going to do it. I will first throw this question out there. I'm going to push go. It's going to throw the question out. And either one of you's got to step up and ask it or answer it. If one of you knows a perfect response, if you say, yes, I have something, you can say it. Otherwise, I'm going to call on you. So here it is. How can you make your tutoring sessions more challenging for your more advanced students? Okay, let me clarify that for a minute. An advanced student could be somebody who, let's say they're 10 years old, but whatever you're teaching them, they're mastering it, they need more challenge. Okay, it doesn't mean, oh, well, they're 25 years old and you're teaching them how to get a master's degree. It's just, is there anything that you do right now that you help make it more challenging so that they're actually learning more than just the normal stuff?
I can answer this.
All right, Linda.
Okay, so I have a student who's been with me a year, and she's doing amazing work with writing. She's a college writing student, and she has mastered a lot of what I have taught her. So what I've started to do is put these little 10-minute mini lessons in the beginning of each lesson. And then I think about things that are still challenging to her, even though she's mastered a lot of it. When she is writing a paper during a lesson or when she shows me her work, I can pick out one or two little things that are still happening in a lot of the papers, and then we target that. So little targeted mini lessons, closing little gaps that still exist.
Yeah, because even an advanced student, however it might be subjective for you, whatever they are, there's always something more that they need to learn. There's never a student who knows everything, and that's something that other students don't get. Like if you have a peer, a classmate who's seems like they've got it all, just because they make 100 on the test doesn't mean they're going to understand everything in that subject area. Okay, does anyone else have a way that they challenge their students just to, pique their interest a little bit more?
I do.
Yes, I tried.
Oh, good too. You can fight over it.
Well, I try to give my students higher level vocabulary. So instead of maybe ride, you might do something like revel. Or instead of root, I might give them something like maybe ravel or rhythm. So give them a little bit more advanced vocabulary.
So show them a word that you think, ooh, everybody stumbles on this word, even native English speakers.
Yes.
Yes. Do you, based off of their first language, do you look up weaknesses? Like, let's say, okay, Japanese students have trouble with this part of English, or other speakers have this trouble with something.
I do. Yes, they do have certain sounds that give them trouble depending on their native language. So I'll look up those and we'll work on those particular sounds.
Let me put the question up here. Claire, why don't you tell me your way of challenging students?
I can tell students need a challenge because they will appear like they're a little bit bored. So what I will do is I will go to the CEMC website where they have the problem of the week. And then I will pull a problem from there, and it's usually a little bit more challenging than their grade level. And then I will ask them to solve it, and they appear less bored. They're more engaged.
Yeah, because no, it's probably nothing worse than if a student doesn't show, which that'll be maybe another surprise question. But if they look bored, there's like fear, like you feel that, oh no, I'm starting to lose them. I got to do something. That's part of being a good teacher, is be able to either keep them so busy learning that they're excited, or as soon as if you feel like you're losing them, you got to shift and say, okay, wait till you see this. This is great. Okay, next question. Here we go. I'm going to jump back to the wheel, and I wonder what it's going to be. Okay, I'm going to remove that question. We won't have it again. Next one. Next one. Oh, here we go. This gets me. So if a student is habitually late to your tutoring sessions by 3 to 5 minutes or more, let's say they've done this several times, they just tend to log in. It's like their clock is set back. Does this bother you? Because maybe they show up and they actually work, but does it bother you if they're regularly late?
It bothers me. Just because I'm waiting for them and we only have those 60 minutes together. So I had a student who was starting to log in, like, even a minute or two after we're supposed to already be meeting. But it takes them forever to log in too. So
Yes.
we were regularly starting our lessons at like 8 or 10 minutes past the hour. So this last time I just brought it up casually. Do you have a calendar that you write your appointments on? And he was like, oh, I think so. And he dug this calendar out from underneath this pile in his room. This is a high schooler, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, let's write our appointments on the calendar. And then I suggested to him that 5 minutes before the hour, he'd get on and start logging in. So we'll see.
Okay, so do you see what I mean, guys? This is a current thing that I knew somebody would have had this problem. This happened to my husband when he was teaching math. There was a kid who the parent was great. They were wanted their kid to have the help. They were paying on time, no other problem. But I just noticed I would hear him logging in. It was like 10, 15 minutes he would be late. And I thought, this kid's trying to hoodwink us. I know what he's doing. He doesn't want to be there. His parent wants him to. And I always try to talk to the kid first, right? Like, okay, let's talk to the actual person. Then, if they're younger than 18, which a lot of us teach that group, then you have to go to the parent and say, hey, here's what I'm seeing. Has anyone else had that issue with latecomers? Because I know sometimes there's tech issues, this or that, but like when they're by habit late.
After a minute, I call the parents. I go,
A
okay,
minute.
or I text them and I ask them, your kid is on, just in case maybe they forgot about it.
Sometimes they will, right? Sometimes.
Yeah.
I've had people forget, or a lot of people though, when the timer goes off, oh, now I can get logged in, but my computer, I hate my computer had to restart, so I don't have this now, but this will happen. You have to really be like professional and delicate about it at the same time, because sometimes it is just they're comfortable with being late. They didn't realize they were bothering you, but it's really not all of it is about us though. It's about them. If we use the line, well, I hate for you to miss out on your session, right? We talk to them about how value that whole hour is, or that 30-minute session, however long it is. So yeah. Any thoughts, Aurelia, before we move to the next question?
Yes, I was going to say similarly. I give a 5 minute, just automatically. Everybody has 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, then I'm emailing and texting. I do want them to get their money's worth, and I want them to see progress. So they do need to be in class. So that's how I handle it.
Okay, yeah, because we shouldn't have to. I don't feel that as online tutors we have to also be their reminders. I think if you're using too much of your time to remind people to be on time, like if you're having to manually do it, like sometimes we have those automatic reminders that go out, like emails, text. You can set things up in tools like TutorBird, but I just don't think it's right to have to constantly remind people. Like, don't we get punished if we're late? Not punished, but like there are sometimes penalties for being late to other types of appointments.
Ooh.
Bless you. We heard that.
Oh my God, I put my camera off, but I forgot to mute. I'm so sorry.
That was funny.
It
Okay,
just
so
came out of nowhere.
let's do it. Let's go to the wheel again. And we may or may not sneeze again. I don't know. Okay, so we're going to let this one go. 3 more questions. That's it. We still have 10 minutes left, guys. Okay, a client that you, what does it say? What does it say? Here we go. Oh, yeah. And I know what you're thinking. A client that you enjoy ask you to tutor a subject that you don't typically teach. So let's say you're teaching reading, and then that a parent says so and so's having some trouble in social studies, or they're struggling with their times tables. What do you do?
I can answer that. If it's a subject that I am qualified to teach, I will by all means teach them. So I'm also qualified to teach Spanish. That's my certification. So to retain that client and so that, we can keep, everything within the same, tutor, I will go ahead and teach them. If it's something that I am not qualified for, as math, social studies, I am going to refer them. The idea is for them to get specialized service and someone that knows what they're doing. So that's how I handle it.
Okay, well said, well said. Because as educators, we think we're qualified to do everything. I mean, I think, well, if I don't do something, I can figure it out. But it's about your time and your stress level and the quality of the explanations you can give. I know some of you have also been asked this. Who else has, and it's okay, it can be a conflicting opinion. I think there's not one straight answer, although Aurelia, you really answered it well. What do you guys think?
Well, I want to say that I think part of this has to do with where you're at in your tutoring business and your increased professionalism as you grow. Because when I started out, I was teaching multiple different things, and diversity, I perceived diversity in my offerings as something that was providing more of a financial basis for my business. However, as I grew, I started to realize, like what Aurelia was talking about, there are many, many tutors who specialize in math or different things. And it became important for me to niche also for my marketing so that it was clear when people came to my website what I teach. So it wasn't like, well, she teaches this, that, and the other thing, and I'm here for this. So, but when you're starting out, it's kind of different than a few years down the line when you start to more specialize, maybe get more training or certification in what you're doing. And then it becomes more important to niche and also to make that very clear for the public what you're doing. But then it's very important to have a book of people that you can refer people to when they come to you and they want something that you're not specialized in, to have good specialists that you can refer people to. So that's kind of the stages I've gone through.
Yes. So there's a lot of stages we go through as online tutors, but it was nicely said how you say sometimes you start out a bit broader and then you niche down once you realize what you actually feel like you're good at tutoring, based off of the results you have, based off of what you really enjoy or the demand. But also too, you could go in the opposite direction, which what I did a little bit of this. I started out just teaching English ages 11 and up, and then I was able to add math, but I personally am not teaching the math. My husband as a teacher can do some math hours. So sometimes you can add, but mostly if you're hiring other tutors too. And that's another good point. Having other tutor buddies, acquaintances, connections that you can refer out, because you may not feel comfortable telling a parent, no, sorry, I can't do that. I won't do that. Because when you're in a business, you want to say yes, you want to be accommodating, you want to be able to tell people, yeah, I can do that. I know how to do that. I offer that. But instead you have to be honest and say, well, actually, I know a bit about that, but I have somebody or I know somebody who is really good at that. Let me give you a couple of names. Doesn't that sound nice? I did not do that at first. I didn't know how. I didn't know the online tutoring community as well. But now it's just a matter of, okay, I need at least 2 or 3 people in my head, people who do the things that, I don't really offer, like lower elementary or calculus. There's certain things that I'm going to need somebody else. I'm going to need your name. What do you think, Claire, about that? Have you ever been asked to teach something that wasn't your math area?
Quite a bit, because I started out in science. So the people who know me from a few years back, they know about that. And they'll sometimes ask me about physics and biology or chemistry. I can do high school chemistry, but not so much physics or biology. So I tell them exactly what I know. And sometimes they want, like, they're taking physics and math in the same semester and they just have 1 or 2 questions about physics and I take them for math. I'll tell them exactly what I know and what they can ask about. And then I tell them if they want an actual physics tutor, they'll go find another tutor.
It's something that we feel like we know a lot about things. Like I try to mention real world issues or try to throw in some like financial education, like practical things, but it's not necessarily like I'm not an expert in the world of finances or in the world of like physics, but if I know something, if it's relevant to whatever I'm teaching a student, I'll try to share that. But I think it takes, like, I hate the word maturity, but like as business owners, we mature in our area and we realize, okay, I used to want to say yes to these people because I like them. We have a good relationship. They trust me. Therefore, I want to keep growing and offering for them. But you can't do everything. You shouldn't have to, because you're already good at what you're doing. I try to get better at knowing what books to recommend or knowing what like types of writing prompts will work. I don't necessarily have to go and get another degree in something to help students. It would take so long. Next question, because now I'm looking at our count now. We've got 3 minutes, 38 seconds. So let's get to that wheel. I think we're pacing it all right. Dos más. Ooh, what is it? One of your students regularly has poor connectivity issues. How do you handle this? This is a pet peeve because sometimes they're telling me you cut out. What did you say? Okay. What do we do about how do you handle it? How do you handle it? Because there's lots of opinions on this.
I just tell them to get on their phone and then I phone call them instead. And then we have the shared whiteboard and that will take up less Wi-Fi.
Okay, say that again. Explain it, because it was I think I know what you're talking about. What do we do?
So normally I have them on Google Meet, but of course on Google Meet you have your camera on, which is going to take up more gigs of data or Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
And then if that's an issue, then I would just tell them to get off Google Meets and then they can use their landline to call me on my phone. And usually that's not a problem.
Okay.
So we'll still have the shared whiteboard so they can see everything that we're doing, but then the sound is just coming out of their phone.
This is one of those cases where you have to know your tools, right? And usually when our first 2 or 3 students, you probably didn't know what to do if they had issues, right? It's sort of like your default or your backup is, well, we can cancel the session and try it again later. But what's going to happen later? They're going to have issues again. Maybe it's their internet provider. Maybe oftentimes it's like their computer. They've got 50 tabs open and they've got a Chromebook, God forbid, a Chromebook. So you have to show them how to do the tech part before you really jump to the actual content. And that can be tough. What have the rest of you done if and when your student has had a connectivity issue?
I've gone through, all the things that we can go through to troubleshoot. And then I've actually had some students where either their computer or their connection was not working. So I did stop the tutoring sessions and I just told them, when you get a better computer, come back and see me.
Mm-hmm.
And they've come back. And because I do need to hear them and they need to hear me for me to be effective. And then I've had some that are in some countries where and then I just recommend that they get a tutor in their country because the the distance, the communication, I can't hear them. So I don't try to continue on just to make a buck. I want them to learn. So I will do what's best for the student.
Oh, yeah, because it's having to reschedule is never a fun thing. So it's sort of like, can we get through this? Well, we could get through it, but is the lesson going to be as good? Are they going to hear me perfectly? If they can't, then wow, that was a C- lesson. I don't ever want to have a C- lesson. My quality is higher than that. Like, they deserve better, and I should have high enough standards. So, Linda, has this happened to you before, where there's just issues and you're just running around figuring out what to do?
Yes, and this year, at the beginning of the year, excuse me, I bought a new computer. It's super fast. It has like multiple processors. I have a little box in my office that's like a separate Wi-Fi hub. I mean, I was like, it's never going to be me, right? And so I had a session, and the connectivity was bad. And so I was talking to the other person about it, and then it happened again in the same week. And they were on their end trying to work it out. It was me.
Mm.
But I went ahead, even though I knew it wasn't me, I went ahead and I called my service provider. And I said, we're having these connectivity issues. I'm sure it isn't me. My speed was down like 200 whatevers. And so we were able to fix the issue. So, with technology, you can do your best, your absolute best. And sometimes there can just be a ghost in the machine. So now I learned my lesson. The first thing I do is I check my own equipment, but there is sometimes an issue on the other end. And I teach adults as well as high school and college students. And sometimes I have returning adults who are coming back in later life to do like a master's degree or something like that. And they are lacking in, technology know-how and things like that. Sometimes I feel like I spend half my lesson just working with the technology issues with people. And it used to really bother me. But then I realized, this is what it is. I can't just say to people, well, come back when you learned how to use your computer. So I've developed a compassionate approach. However, if there is a real problem with computer speed, like Aurelia said, that is going to have to be addressed on their side of things. And usually if I just stay cool and just, ask them again at the end of a lesson, ask the parent, if it's a high school student, could you check your connectivity again and see if you can make a little headway on this? Eventually they will solve it.
All right. Our timer just went off. So you guys did such a terrific job. It is all these things are important. I've had to recommend to a parent that they buy another computer because, once the student tries 2 different computers in the house, I hate having to tell people, guess what? You've got to spend a lot more money than you originally thought. Nobody wants to hear that. But if your plan is to have your child work online for an extended period of time, if they're going to work with other tutors, it's nowadays parents have to decide, or even adults have to decide, I'm just going to keep moving forward and learning about this. So part of what we do as online tutors is also educating them on how to do things online, because sometimes it is as simple as I use a document camera, I screen share one website, we use Google Docs, that's it. That already sounds like a lot, but now that's simple. That used to be really hard work. So that's all we'll do today. We will do another one of these soon. I'll go ahead and end it here. Thanks, guys, so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.
Bye-bye.